what you're exposed to forms what your life looks like. If you're exposed to all these toxins and all these chemicals, obviously that's going to manifest in some way. And sickness is usually how that manifests. And if you're constantly exposed to Christ and the Lord and all of his word and all of his promises, your life starts to look like that.
You're listening to the What the Gut podcast, where busy moms can come for a holistic approach to health and vitality. I'm Allison, your host, a holistic health and wellness coach. In this space, we'll dive into the intricacies of achieving holistic wellness while balancing the demands of daily life as a busy mom. What the Gut is your haven for navigating the challenges that come with juggling numerous tasks while aiming for a healthier, more balanced life. Join me as we uncover practical solutions to common health hurdles, from managing fatigue to understanding all things gut health. Through insightful discussions, actionable insights, and tailored lifestyle strategies, my goal here is to empower you to embrace a vibrant, nourishing life while saying goodbye to being overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey towards holistic well-being, hit that subscribe button. Get ready to discover the secrets to thriving in motherhood while nurturing your overall wellness. A quick reminder, everything discussed here is for educational and empowering purposes only and is not intended for personalized medical advice. Consult your personal healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. Welcome to What the Gut, where we create our own path to holistic health, one episode at a time. On this episode of What the Gut, I have Becky Giannini, and Becky is a sweet friend of mine. She is a God-fearing, sacred single mama of two. She is very much into homesteading, homeschooling, and she works from home. She has got a background in retail management and culinary and has a love for all things raw, fresh, and real. She is such an interesting person and very well-rounded. I hope that you love listening to Becky speak as much as I do. Becky, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm glad that we finally get together and can talk. How are you
Yes.
doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. For my listeners who don't know, Becky is a sweet friend of mine, and she's such an interesting person. She's got a lot of different things that she's just so wise to speak into. And she's a Lyme disease survivor, and she found healing through natural methods and discovered her profound faith through these challenges and through multiple divorces as well. So today, I think whenever you hear Becky speak, you're going to agree with me and really find her journey of faith, motherhood as a single parent, and her passion for this holistic way of living life and toxic free living just really inspiring. Becky has overcome adversity and found strength in embracing the old ways of our ancestors. And so Becky just has all kinds of awesome things to talk about. Becky, I really want to ask you first if you can share your journey of overcoming Lyme disease naturally and how that transformed your life.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everybody's journey is unique, right? And mine definitely has just been super long. And, it started when I was 17. I started having all of like the symptoms, the aching joints, the memory, all of the crazy Lyme stuff. And prior to this, they diagnosed my dad with Lyme's disease in like 93. They figured he had had it since like 88. So they basically, when we figured out that he had Lyme, they told him he had 6 months left to live. So I was a young kid. I was like 10.
So
Um,
let me interrupt for a second.
yeah.
For my listeners who may not be familiar with Lyme disease, can you explain the symptoms and things you were experiencing or that like, your dad was experiencing and what that looked like?
Yeah, the telltale sign of Lyme is you get bit by a tick and then you have a bullseye rash. So it'll be like a really red spot in the middle, the bigger rash on the outside. But the thing that happens to the people that don't get diagnosed with it, that don't have a rash, can be you're hunters, right? We're hunters and we process our own meat. So if we process a deer that's infected, and we have like a cut on our hand. Now their blood is in our blood. And so that's how they figure that probably I got it. My dad had like some sort of a rash too, but I never had a rash. So symptoms are very neurological, right? So it goes and hides in your spine, in your spinal fluid, and in your spinal cord. It's super smart. It's always accompanied by a secondary virus like Borrelia or something. So there's always like a co-infection with Lyme's disease, which then wreaks havoc also. And it's a lot of, for me, chronic pain, being tired all the time, like never being able to like get enough sleep and getting sick super easy. So like your immune system is just always fighting. You never get any like rest. And that was a lot for my dad. My dad has a lot of issues with his eyes with floaters. Like he can't see. It's like always cloudy, a lot of matter in his eyes, a lot of joint stuff. Like if it's going to rain, both of us know it's going to rain because everything stiffens up. It's so wild. So as a young child, I instantly got thrown into like, okay, I don't get to be a kid anymore. I have to take care of my dad. My mom had to go back to work and my dad was like on an IV drip. At 10 years old, I was putting syringes together and doing his IV meds and taking care of my sister. So I had to grow up really super fast. Then to finding out that I had the same thing. And the only doctor near us is about 3.5 hours away. Like New York State didn't even acknowledge that there was a problem with Lyme's disease in the 80s. They just said, no, you're crazy. It's MS. So they told my daddy had MS when it really wasn't. So I would say 95% of people with Lyme get misdiagnosed with MS. So we found a doctor in Pennsylvania, and my dad has been going there since 88, and I've been going there since I was 17 years old. So courses of antibiotics and antivirals, all that stuff. But then, that wreaks havoc on your gut and then sends you into another spiral, right? So it's a constant cycle. So when I was 21, I got bit by another tick and I lived in Tennessee. And I was married to my first husband who was in the military. So we sent the tick to the military doctors. They tested it and it was positive also. So now I'm like reinfected a second time,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
so I wasn't aware. I was just kind of trying to like manage, but still, I just had no idea. I was just functioning, right? I was just trying to get through day by day.
Well, and so many of the symptoms too are pretty vague and can be attributed to many different like
Mhm.
conditions or diseases. But it sounds like the second time that this happened to you, you were a lot more alert and aware and did find a tick that time.
Yeah.
So you knew for sure that that's what was causing it. But I find it so interesting, like the way that you first got diagnosed and how you didn't see a tick bite, but it was most likely from the blood and processing a deer. And that, I tell you, is not something you read in a textbook for this
Yeah.
might be Lyme disease. But I know, especially where I am in Mississippi, a lot of people go hunting all the time. And so that very well could happen, even if we don't live in like a region where there's typically a lot of ticks, but that's wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you got diagnosed
Crazy.
again at
Yeah, so I was
21.
like 20 I was 21, so 17, 21. And then before 2017, I went to culinary school. I've always cooked. I've always just loved the old school, the life that my grandparents lived, like doing everything just the way that they did it. So I never was like a really bad eater or, I tried to like pay attention to things just because I love to cook. But then in 2017, something happened. I don't know. We think maybe it was just something as simple as getting bit by a mosquito. So I remember being on my back deck and something bit me in the arm. And I was like, what the heck? And I just kind of rubbed it off. Within 24 hours, I was in a complete full explosion of big welts like this size all over my entire body to almost touching each other, right? All down my neck, all down my face, these huge welts. And then the next day I woke up, my eyes started swelling shut. I was like, what is going on? This is insane. And I got into my primary. She said, okay, let's test you again for Lyme. We'll see what's going on here. She said, maybe it's Rocky Mountain spotted fever. That's kind of what it looks like. Like just all of this stuff. And mind you, like 2017, I've got what, a 6-year-old at the time, a single mom living by myself, like just madness. And
For those of the listeners that don't know or are not watching this and just listening, I have not ever heard this story before. And I'm over here with my jaw dropped because I'm like, wait, I thought you had like all kinds of cool things, like awesome, like crazy wild, like all these things that have happened in your life or that you've done or, not so great things, but just a lot of different things. And I'm like, something else, like again. I'm
I
like,
know, right? I know, crazy. I was thinking, I was like, I don't think I told Allison this
no,
part.
I have not heard all
So,
this. So this is exciting.
yeah. So,
I
yeah.
mean, it's terrible that it happened, but,
Oh,
like,
right. Right.
wow.
Yeah. So just full hikes. She's running all these tests, like trying to figure out the Rocky Mountain spotted fever came back negative. She just said, well, yeah, it shows that you still have Lyme, but no new co-infection or whatever. And so I just kind of was like, I got to go to my doctor in Pittsburgh. And obviously, I don't go there all the time if I feel like I'm having a relapse, like going back. So we called him, we got down in there and he ran some tests. And it ended up, it was a viral infection, but my Epstein-Barr numbers, which is a virus that everybody carries, my Epstein-Barr numbers were like in the 400s. So my body literally was screaming.
You still don't really know what it was that bit you, though.
I don't know what it was that bit me, but I know now what caused that reaction. So it was whatever bit me was enough to set my system off. But
Mhm.
what I didn't realize was I had my own cleaning business. So I was cleaning anywhere between 10 and 12 houses a week. We're talking 5, 6, 7 hours a day, all these cleaning chemicals, breathing it all in. And I was going on 6 years of cleaning houses. And so the doctor said, this is all exploding because you're being exposed to all of these environmental toxins all the time. It's all I breathed in, Allison. It was the Fabuloso, like, mopping and the bleach and just that one little thing, that one little introduction of some little poison from a mosquito or whatever just set my system off. He put me on antivirals. I was on antivirals for a complete year, trying to get it under control, and then I said, "Well, I'm doing this all naturally. I'm gonna figure this out." Obviously, my body's poisoned, so how do I get rid of all of that? How do I detox? And I was just so incredibly blessed to find the medical medium, Anthony Williams, and I bought every single one of his books. I read every book cover to cover. I got into celery juicing. So I did 16 ounces of fresh celery juice every day, pretty much since then. So what are we talking? 7 years. I had issues with constipation and issues with my gut and just everything. And so the celery juice just cleansed all of that stuff out. And then I went into his heavy metal detox smoothie protocols and started doing the smoothies to pull all the other stuff out. And then just eating really clean, I switched to organic. It's just been a complete journey since then because if something happens to me, who's going to take care of my kid?
Whenever you did go to the doctor the second time that you had found out you were bitten by a tick and you realized that you needed to do this detox, how did you realize that you needed to do a detox? Did your physician tell you, or you just already had the knowledge and knew this?
I knew in my gut something was majorly wrong. And I knew I just had enough common sense to know that, like, if stuff is trying to protrude out of your skin, it obviously cannot get cleared out through your liver and your normal pathways. I just knew with the whole cleaning supply thing that I was basically dying from the inside out. It was just I gotta change everything. I never ate a lot of fast food. We ate out once in a while, but then I became like crazy. Like,
From that
okay,
food?
yeah, I haven't ate from a fast food restaurant in 7 years. I read everything and make sure I don't take in any unnecessary seed oils. I hunt for our own meat. I source our own beef locally. I buy a quarter cow. I buy our pork locally. I have a girl that I get meat chickens from. We now have our own chickens where we get our own eggs from. And then goes in deeper, like what I feed them. Only feed them organic grains. And we're going to be getting a milk cow in July. So we'll have our own milk. Like I completely just went in reverse back to what my grandparents did, like growing my own food. Then you deep dive into like, okay, well, what does spirulina do? What does chlorella do? How does it get out? Okay, cilantro is good for removing toxic heavy metals. How do I incorporate cilantro into everything that the kids and I are eating on a weekly basis? Now I'm buying cilantro every week. We're having smoothies. We're having tacos with cilantro. It's one thing leads into another to just help support your body naturally. People get really bogged down with wanting to change everything immediately, and it just doesn't happen that way. If you can just go one thing at a time, right? Like stop using bleach, stop using hairspray, stop using perfume, don't use air fresheners. It was just one thing at a time that I was just removing out of the house. And now if I'm around any of that stuff, any perfume, if I go into someone's house and they've got a plug-in in or whatever, my throat instantly starts to close up and I get a sore throat. And I'm like, we got to get out of here. I use a lot of the Touchstone Essentials, zeolite sprays, and the gut detox. We're doing that all day, every day. I'm on a mile long list of supplements that I've just kind of figured out what's best for me on my own and just like trial and error along the way.
I think one step at a time to living a more healthy, clean lifestyle is easier said than done. Some people don't know where to start, but I do think listening to some of the things that you've mentioned, stop using certain cleaning products or air fresheners because you think about the toxins in the environment. But also, I think for people like you and me who have had something significant happen to them, that the root of it comes down to like your environment or what you're doing or putting in your body, we're a lot more motivated to do more than one thing at a time. And so I think sometimes people look at that and they're like, oh, wow, like how can they do that? But I don't think people realize like we've hit rock bottom before. And, you don't necessarily want to have to get there to change your lifestyle.
I thought we lived a pretty clean,
Yeah.
healthy life. And then it's like, man, if this is what happened to me, then what's happening to people that are eating fast food every day that just don't even read a label? But I think the best way to start is just to start with what's in your home. Like we said, the cleaning supplies that you're using. I literally only use hot water and vinegar, but people don't realize your skin is actually an organ. It's the largest organ you have. I always had acrylic nails. For 20 years, I had acrylic nails. And if you're putting nail polish on, all those chemicals are seeping right in. The lotions, the biggest thing for us was like laundry soap. And now it's all come out that all the laundry soap, the fabric softeners, all that have carcinogens in them that's cancer causing. So I literally go back and just buy the old school washing soda, baking soda, borax, and vinegar. Like that's all I wash our stuff in.
But if you think about it, some people might hear you say that and think, oh my goodness, you're crazy. That's not really going to get clean, or your house or clothes are not really going to get clean like that. But what do you think Jesus did? That's
Right.
what I'm like.
Right.
I'm like, but what did Jesus do? He
Right.
didn't have Fabuloso. I mean, come on, y'all. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
yeah. That's what I
blows
that's
my
what I just
mind.
like that's what I anchor on is like, what did they do before? If it's something that God put here, then that's what I'm gonna eat. If I can grow it in the ground, if I can harvest it from an animal, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, they say 90% of the grocery stores, it's just, you know,
Fake food.
fake. It's
Fake.
not food. Like if they have a tiny little section that's for health food, then obviously the rest of the store you shouldn't even be in.
If that's the health section, what is the rest of this place?
Right.
Yeah. And then,
Right.
you think about too, back whenever Jesus was walking on earth in biblical times, they lived a whole lot longer. Noah was on the ark with all these animals, but he only ever ate plants.
Yeah.
God had not commanded him to eat any meat yet. So I just think about that. Okay. He ate only plants, survived on this ark for months and months, and lived to be over 100. What kind of plants were those? Because I need some of them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you just think about that. And I don't know, that blew my mind whenever I realized that because I'm definitely not a vegetarian, but
Right.
give me some of those good plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, you've got 2 kiddos, and you were talking about the convenience that fast food does give to people. How do you navigate that with your kids and not just jumping to fast food for convenience?
My kids know nothing of fast food. They don't even know it exists.
Not even from like grandparents or anything?
My oldest, when she was younger, she did because they would take her and I would just explain to her that that's not good food, that they shouldn't be feeding you that. But like I said, I went to culinary school. I've always cooked my entire life. So I've always made everything myself. When Ellie was a baby, her first foods were steamed broccoli and avocados. And the family members would be like, ew, that's so gross. Why are you feeding that to her? And I would have to say, that's your opinion. Please don't say anything around my child. She doesn't know any different.
What else would you feed a baby?
Well, baby food, right? The cereal, baby
Oh.
food, like, my kids have never had canned baby food,
See
never.
that mine haven't either. That never crossed my mind, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, so that was just what they thought I should be feeding. I just immediately started with, like, raw everything, right? It literally only takes you an hour or 2 hours on a Sunday night. Go get apples, go get carrots, go get organic. Just go get it. I usually get 5 or 6 different things each week, right? Cucumbers, whatever, and then I just prep it all, and I just put it in Tupperware containers. So cucumbers are cut up, carrots are cut up, apples not so much, but that's kinda on the fly thing, but, bananas, whatever, in it. I just the only options for my kids for snacks are those things. So they don't know anything else. But parents think that it's super hard if you're constantly with the Kool-Aid and the box macaroni and cheese and all the things that instantly overload your kid's system. Then you start to see behavioral issues. So it may be convenient now, but it sure is not going to be convenient later on down the road.
Right. So, Becky, I know that you are a single mom. What strategies or values do you really prioritize in raising your children to understand and embrace faith?
I have always grown up around the Lord, but it was just what it was, right? Like when you're growing up, it's like you go to church, you just do, I never really had either parent very strong in faith. We just went. We just went to Bible study. We just did whatever. And I remember being 16 and starting to ask questions and not understand. And my mom just being like, well, you're 16 now. You can do what you want and believe what you want. And at that point, I just was kind of confused, right? And now looking back on that moment as a mother, I have a lot of anger about that because it's like, how could you send your child to the wolves, right? Like your job as a parent is to lead your children to the Lord. And so I had a lot of years of up and down. Like I always believed in God. My dad is very spiritual, but his spiritual and connecting with God is nature, right? So I have a very strong part with that. So we would hunt together and we would talk about all the things we're grateful for, and the faith would be strengthened in that way. But my dad, he will go to church, but it's just not a routine thing for him. So I guess it's been just a little over a year. I was baptized again, so it is a consistent focus for walking with the Lord. For us, it looks like going to church every Sunday, family dinner after church every Sunday. It's prayer over every meal. It's Bible studies at church. It's waking up every morning and reading the Bible. It's listening to Christian music just because I know like 100% what you've exposed yourself to is what will infiltrate you. The same thing as how I got sick, right? Like all those chemicals, like
Yes.
around me, I had to get rid of those. So I've had to get rid of everything that was making us sick or not helping us lead to the Lord. And now I can see it manifesting in my kids because they will say, can we pray for so and so? Or if something is tough, especially my oldest, she'll be like, it's okay, mom, God's got us. It's God's plan. We just have to trust. And for me now, it's like my duty as a mother is to lead them to the Lord. That to me, when they get older and they're leaving me, if they're strong in that, that's how I know I'm successful. Not what they've achieved academically. That stuff's all well and good, but that's not my plan. That's not my purpose. That's not what God gave me those children for. He gave them to me to disciple them and raise them up, in that. And my youngest, she's 3, and they do have, like, nursery daycare while service is going on, but she's always been there, and she sits quietly and to me, that's like subconscious, you know, it's subconsciously
He's
just
absorbing it.
absorbing it. Yeah. She knows nothing other than that. Yeah. So that I would say is probably one of the things I'm most proud of and feel most successful in, especially the last year, and just holding strong to faith. Like, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that your plan's better than mine. And I always was well, this is what I want to do. Well, this is my plan. Well, this is how this should be. And this last year, I've just kind of gave it up to the Lord because I said, obviously, what I've been doing for 41 years has not worked. So you can do it now. You can do it now and follow your plan.
Yes. So, on that note, reflecting over the past year, what has been your greatest challenge and how did your faith play a role in overcoming all of that?
I would say the greatest challenge was this last divorce. It was a best friend for 30 some years and finding out that there was infidelity and just being completely crushed and not understanding. Then it even hurts worse when it's somebody you've known since you were a kid. I would never do to someone that I wouldn't want done to me. And it was all of the things like the infidelity, the abandonment, just everything all at once. And I could have very easily spiraled out of control and I didn't. I just like sat in my faith. We moved into a new house. It wouldn't have been possible without the Lord. Like the Lord's hand was here. There's just no way I could have got into this house without him. And having the church family and just sitting and just understanding, I actually started to thank the pain. I thanked the pain because it led me here. And if you don't address the pain, it's going to resurface somewhere else. So I just get really thankful for that situation and thankful that it's over because I can see what my life was going to be like in another 20 years had I stayed on that path. And the Lord's shown me that everything I've ever dreamed of is on the other side, is on the other
Yeah.
path. And I couldn't have done that if I didn't sit in faith and just like, every time I would struggle, I would grab my Bible and I would just start reading and I'd go outside and I'd take a walk and I'd just look and just be in awe of everything because it really is so good. And the actions of one person don't define who you are as a child of God. And just pray for them.
Yeah, for sure. How do you find time for yourself or how did you in those moments?
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of time for myself. I don't have a lot of people that I can just be like, hey, come take the kids. It was more of a letting them see the journey. And I've always been very open, especially with my oldest, and I never want to shelter her from anything. To me, it's super important to teach them how to handle situations. I think that's how kids get into a lot of trouble is because they think their parents are perfect and they've never seen them work through a situation. So a lot of it looked like, okay, mom's really, I'm just not having a great day. I am not 100% today. Let's go do X, Y, and Z. And it would be whatever I guess I needed, right? And for me, I get instant healing being outside. So it was, okay, we need to go for a hike. We need to go for a walk. We need to go to the park. We need to, something outside because that is my instant grounding, instant reconnecting. But that took time to realize that I needed that for my nervous system. So just kind of walking the path with them and just saying, yes, this is tough. This is going to be tough for the next couple months. We're going to have to cut back on this. We're not going to be able to do this. And just explaining why so that they knew why. But then always going back to, but God will get us through. This is just a season. We'll just keep going day by day.
Yeah, I love that. We talked about so many
Yep.
good things. I loved what you said about your relationship with God and relating it to whenever you had Lyme disease. I forget the words that you used.
Like what you're exposed to.
Yes.
What you're exposed to forms what your life looks like. If you're exposed to all these toxins and all these chemicals, obviously that's going to manifest in some way. And sickness is usually how that manifests. And if you're constantly exposed to Christ and the Lord and all of his word and all of his promises, your life starts to look like that. And you surround yourself with people that are faithful, and then your life starts to look like that. I started the 40-40 challenge on Monday, and the first day running back to the house, the Lord brought me to my knees in gratitude because I came up and I just looked at the house and it was just, look what I did for you in your times of struggle. Look what you have. And I just sat there on my knees on the side of the road and just cried for a little while because the things that I'm grateful for now are just so completely different than what they were in my 20s. It's not materialistic stuff. It is the presence of the Lord in my life in every little thing, every little trial and moving forward and really supporting the life that I want to live, like going back, slowing down, canning everything just back to the way it was,
Yeah.
better.
And while you do have this awesome house now, it's not the materialistic thought of having it, but just for those of you listening, Becky has this beautiful house on all this land where she can hunt, she can have her chickens and raise her family and live this lifestyle that she wants to.
Yeah, so I had been house hunting for a couple of years because we were in a
Yeah.
village and I wanted to get out somewhere with land. And I just happened to catch it on Zillow, and it was really close to my dad, and I wanted to be close to my dad to help with my grandma, and I remember sending him the Zillow listing, and then he literally said, "I just drove past that house yesterday and was gonna tell you about it." So it's nestled 10 minutes from my dad, and then it's literally 3 minutes from his girlfriend, and her entire family is all up here also. We're on 16 acres in the middle of nowhere. I come to look at the house with dad. We walk out through the back woods and there's a little shed. And I look down and there's a pile of rocks with scripture written all over it.
I didn't know this part. You're just full of surprises.
Yeah. It was a pile of rocks full of scripture. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be here. This is where we're supposed to be. And I'm trying to purchase the house. Obviously, my dad's helping me, and I just couldn't afford the asking price. There was no way. I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And so I just prayed and I said, okay, I'm offering this. And it was significantly less than what the asking price was. And they accepted it. And come to find out, the husband and wife that were here that had passed away, they were very, very faithful. And they left the proceeds of the house to their church. So nobody, the kids weren't inheriting anything. It was going to the church. So they just accepted the offer and ended up leaving everything pretty much here. I could have never done this by myself. It was definitely the Lord's plan to get us here.
Yeah. And that's so comforting to just step back and listen to because God tells us we will go through trials. We will have hard times. He doesn't say everything will be fine all the time. He tells
Yeah.
us it's going to be hard, but He is right there with you. And I know sometimes we read that in scripture and we read it and move on to the next verse, but to see that, it's just really comforting.
I'm now supposed to disperse these rocks to people, drop my net out and bring more people in type of thing. So, yeah, that's what keeps me anchored because you have those moments in your life where your faith is tested and then you're shown, and you just like, okay, yep, I got it. Okay, I'm going this way. I'm going this way. This is the way I'm going.
Yeah. Becky, this has been such a fun conversation. It's always fun to talk to you, but so much of this is the first time I'm hearing it as well. So thank you so much for sharing with me and my listeners. Do you have anything else that you want to leave with our listeners today?
I would just say the biggest thing, especially as a mother, is just trust your gut. You have that instinct. It is a God given instinct. It is your guiding force. And it doesn't matter what everyone else is saying. If you know something is wrong in your gut, if you feel something is wrong, just keep fighting because it will eventually lead you to, I think, well, if I had just given up and just started on pharmaceuticals, where would I be? If I wouldn't have just done it myself. You're not crazy. trust your gut and just keep going. Just put your blinders on with God and just go. That would be my biggest piece of advice for women.
I love that advice. Trust your gut. I got it. Becky, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being a part of my journey on What the Gut podcast. For a deeper dive into today's topics, head over to AllisonandWellness.com/whatthegut or find the detailed show notes linked below. Hey, and don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button, and if you love this one, please leave me a review. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Connect with me and stay updated and engaged with my awesome community. Plus, share these valuable insights with your tribe. They deserve to feel as amazing as you do. You can find me at Allison_and_wellness on Instagram. Your support means the world to me. I'm looking forward to our next awesome chat. But until then, stay curious, don't drink too much coffee, keep the vibrant energy flowing, and take care of your gut. Catch you real soon. Oh, and hey, if you're ready to dive deeper into personalized wellness, check out my one-on-one health coaching program at AllisonandWellness.com. Let's make your journey to holistic health truly transformative.